Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Thursday, April the 9th. How's everybody doing today? We are looking at an interesting morning. We're kind of just sort of flat from where we closed yesterday after a wild ride. But if you're here this morning, I just wanted to say hi and thank you for being here. I would love it if you would drop your name in the chat and say hi. Let's get to know each other. This is a friendly, interactive stream. I'm going to take live trades in front of you for educational purposes. I'm going to analyze the market and I'm going to answer any questions or comments. I love to help traders of all levels. So I've been trading for over 20 years. I'm a licensed stockbroker. I have my Series 7, and this is what I do for a living. I'm the real deal. So follow me and ask your questions and comments, and we'll have some fun today. All right, it looks like David is here. Good morning, David. Good to see you, David Neely. And yeah, so if you are here again, say hi, but let's jump right in. Hatman is here. Good morning. Let's jump right into these charts. What do we have going on here? I'm going to take a look at our daily with you because I want to give you the perspective of what happened yesterday. It was enormous, very huge move yesterday, one of the largest. And here is a picture of the S&P 500. And by the way, we're making a little move down here. Let's see if we come down here and test this VWAP. Let's watch this move here. Okay. So here is our S&P 500. Remember that that is the index that houses 500 of the largest stocks. These are large cap, mega cap stocks that are sitting inside of the S&P 500. As this is considered an index, we don't get to buy the index, right? We can trade options on the index, which I do sometimes. But we can't own the index. If we want to own the index, that's when we buy the SPY or similar products. There's a product called VOO. There's some other products out there that basically seek to copy, mirror the S&P 500 by, okay, this is nice, by creating what we call an ETF, an exchange traded fund. So they would copy the S&P 500, they would put it into an ETF, an exchange traded fund, and then you can basically, in essence, you can buy the S&P 500 by buying the SPY or the VOO or something similar, a similar ETF. So that being said, the index only runs on regular trading hours. Good morning, Gavilan. Good to see you. The index is only running regular trading hours. It is not like the SPY and the ES, which are the futures. Those run almost 24/7. The index does not. So this is the choice that I use to chart the SPX. I chart the SPX because you just can see the gaps more clearly. You can't quite see them as well when you're looking at the futures or even the SPY. So looking at the S&P 500, this is what happened yesterday. We had, and we talked about this yesterday on the stream. We had, this is the close of Tuesday. This is Wednesday. And this, of course, is today, Thursday. So Tuesday, we were still kind of in this little nice green push-up, 5 green days. Seemed to me like we were kind of getting ready to make a lower high and roll over. But no, what happened? We had news. And what was the news? The news was that there was going to be a ceasefire. So that, of course, is turning out to be hogwash, as I'm sure probably everybody guessed. Iran, the ink wasn't even dry, and they were, attacking UAE and Kuwait. Israel was bombing Lebanon in order to get rid of Hezbollah. In all fairness, everyone's saying, well, Lebanon was never part of the ceasefire, but Iran screaming that the ceasefire has been violated, and the ink wasn't even dry, right? And if anybody thought this ceasefire was a real deal, I don't know how they would think that. But nevertheless, it did what it was intended to do. And in my opinion, what it was intended to do was to push the market upward. And it certainly accomplished that goal. We jumped up almost 3% yesterday, huge gap up, and a nice green candle. So we opened today virtually where we closed yesterday, pretty darn close. And as of right now, we're making kind of a small red candle. Are we bearish right now? No, we're not dumping. We're not dropping hard. We don't see that happening. But we're not climbing either. So when the market does this kind of crazy gymnastics, these areas, this is just air, right? This is just air. There is no market structure here. There's nothing but a huge gap. This area is kind of undeveloped. It's low liquidity. There's not a lot of anything that happened because we jumped right over it. So what the market usually, doesn't always, but usually what it wants to do is come back and try to fill this in and try to build some structure in here. It's kind of like a scaffolding. It wants to come back and build a little bit of structure in here. Now it doesn't have to, but that is usually what happens with gaps of this size. The market will try to come back and put some order to this big gaping window open, right? Wants to kind of close that window. So to close the gap, what actually has to happen when we make an upward gap like we did, what actually has to happen to close the gap is that price has to come all the way down to the close of the candle that started the gap. So Tuesday's candle started the gap up to Wednesday. So to fill this gap, you hear a lot of people talking about, the gap has to fill. To fill this gap, price has to come all the way back down here to the close of this Tuesday candle. Now, is that likely to happen? Maybe not in a day or two. We're on a pretty strong upward trajectory, but also remember, we're kind of stretching a rubber band too, because this big push is a pretty big stretch. So is that rubber band going to snap back? Are we going to come fill this gap? We probably will, but it doesn't have to be today, tomorrow, next week. Sometimes gaps take a very long time to fill. Sometimes they do. All right, Craig is here. So good morning, Craig. So what we are looking at today is just basically this candle right now. We've still got more of the day to go, but right now this candle is representing price acceptance. We've got this big slingshot, this big rubber band, and is it going to snap back? We'll see. But as of right now, this candle represents acceptance, right? We've got to digest this price. We are currently sitting at almost 6,800. And you can see, if I zoom out a bit, this is exactly the zone that we broke down from a few weeks ago. So here's this zone that we stayed in for months, right? We were in this zone kind of from, if you don't count this little dip here, all the way back here to November, we kind of were living in this 6,850, 6,800 to 7,000. Basically, 6,800 to 7,000 zone is where we were. We are almost at 6,800, almost right back to the zone that we broke down from. That's pretty amazing that we did that in just a matter of days, but we did. And so if we zoom in a little bit more here, let's look at these support and resistance lines. What do we see? We zoom way in. We've got a support line sitting right here at 67.50 roughly. And you can see yesterday we stayed clear of that. We stayed over it. We closed above that support. And then overhead, we have a resistance. So far, it's proving to be resistance. We could bust right up through that, but that level is sitting at 6,800. So we pushed up yesterday almost to 6,800, not quite, but almost. We got up there. And so far, as of yesterday, 6,800 is holding. Now, could we keep on going and moving up through that? Yes, we sure could. But right now, this candle is forming as price acceptance. We're just sitting right here, digesting this big move, sitting on 67.75, basically almost 6,800, just sitting here digesting this. I do expect there to be some of that slingshot effect, some of that snapped rubber band effect. I do expect us to come down. Does it have to be today? No, it doesn't. I think we will see some downward movement today. We've already seen some. But this candle, I'm watching it carefully because this is a big move, and sometimes we do get that little rubber band snap back. So let's see what happens. We'll watch it today. We have to, at some point, back and fill this market imbalance, but it doesn't have to be today. Okay, so let's get over to our 1 minute on the futures chart. And let's look at what kind of trades we might be looking at. Tatiana is here, and David. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining. Still on the notion that we're going higher today. Well, we are higher right now, David, so you're not wrong. We've kind of been up and down, and that's exactly what we're about to look at. We are down just about, at this moment, 6 points from yesterday's close. That's not too much. Let's take a look here at what the daily chart is giving us so far. Not a lot. A bit of sideways, a little bit of a V here. We took this little dip, not too far. We didn't go down too far. And we didn't come up too far either. We've got an overnight high right overhead at 68.23 on the futures, and it's sitting at 676 on the SPY. So could we get up as high as 676? Let's take a look at the volume. Volume saying, yeah, sure, we could get to 676. We've got about 200,000 volume at the 676. Let me see, make sure I'm saying that right. Yep, 205,000 volume at the 676 call strike. We have higher volume sitting on the put strike at 674, but we've already been there. So we have to kind of discount that a little bit. If we've already been there, we have to pay attention to that. We have already been there at 674. Right down here. Yeah, 673. So right now, again, have we hit 676 yet? I don't think so. No, we have not. So again, we've got this overnight high right overhead. Let's see if we can come up and tag that. But I do think we've had a move down. So we'll see if we can get another move down, or if this is just going to grind for the rest of the day. Let's watch and see. This is definitely a strong push right here. I'm not going to take any trade at this point. We could consider calls. The MACD just rolled over, but this is a little short-term top that we made earlier right after the open. So I'm going to hold off right now on any calls and see what we do here with this overnight high. All right, overnight put was terrible. It meant nothing on the way down. Oh, sorry to hear that, DT. All right. Pushing right now. And again, I'm not interested in calls at this moment just because we are right at our opening range. We're right at our overnight high. So let's give this a minute and see how we play out here. Diane, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Oil came down just a little bit. So let me state it this way. Oil is up today. Pretty good. It's up pretty good. Light sweet crude at this point is up 7.5%. That's quite a bit. And this is one of the first times since the conflict that we've actually seen oil and the market moving in the same direction. Since the conflict has happened, when oil goes up, the market's been going down. When oil comes down, the market's been going up, mostly since the conflict. This is a different, a little bit of a different environment where oil is up pretty good. CL, like I said, 7.5%, Brent up almost 5%. So oil up nicely, not nicely, not good for the economy, but oil up. And the market's also trying to climb. I think for me, one of them is not telling the truth. One of them is lying. And I think it's the SPY. I think it's going to have to come down. So let's see what happens here. Let's watch and see. Diane is speaking to David. Sorry to hear that. I had a rough morning so far too. Broke my winning streak. I'm sorry, Diane. I'm sorry to hear that as well. All right. Our VIX is sitting at 20.5. So much lower than it's been. The VIX is down only about 2% today. However, remember that 20 is still fairly in the elevated area. It's still fairly elevated. Certainly nowhere near where it's been, but still on the higher side. So just keep that in mind. All right. So I'm going to wait for a move down here. I'm not going to trade this call unless we really push up through this overnight high, but I'm not trading this call right now. Let's see what we get. All right. Looks like it could make a push for this overnight high on the SPY. 676 is where we're sitting. Here's our level right here, this yellow line. Definitely getting a push here. And there's the push. All right, we are up over the overnight high. And we're about 4 points over yesterday's close. So that is bullish. That's a bullish move. Strong buying right now. We're also up over the top of the VWAP here. Now that doesn't always mean anything. Sometimes we get reversals back down under it, but sometimes we just keep going. So I'm actually going to wait for this call move to this up move to pass. I'm not going to trade it. And I may trade the down move here, that whenever it comes. Yep, overbought. Yep, exactly right, David. We are on the RSI. We're sitting at right now, looks like 69. So it was just overbought a minute ago. All right, Val, the overnight put was crazy. We were down at the open almost 2 points and I opened up down 21%. Yeah, the overnight put what was crazy. Um, I went ahead and averaged that when I took those put trades this morning, and that one played out just fine for me. But I don't know if you got, I know you, David, got out of it. I don't know, Val, if you were able to um, make that. So I had bought the 676, and that is what I was, one of the levels I was trading this morning. So it wound up on accident, really just getting averaged, and that was fine for me. Took the loss. Okay, 21%. Yeah, not horrible. That's not a horrible loss. Hopefully you made it back with the trades this morning, Val. Averaged it as well. It was still a loss. Yeah, but you took the 674, David. Yeah. It was a little bit out of the money. I think yesterday 676 was right at the money at the close. Small position, no big deal. Yeah, exactly. And that's the idea with these lottos, is that it has to be a small position because they are lottos. So, all right, Bitcoin screaming this morning, almost 72K. We are right back up to our overnight high. This thing looks like it wants to climb. Let's see. See what we get. All right. So I'm just waiting for the down move. What I'm wanting to see is the MACD roll over here. See these moving averages start to come down. Let's see the VIX start to give us a little bit of a pop. Here's a little green candle on the VIX. All right, David, same small position. 5 became 10, but got out at a small loss. Glad to hear it, David. Glad it didn't hurt you. All right, little rollover here, possibly. Let's see. We'll wait for the MACD to tell us for sure. I am looking at 677 puts. They're pretty cheap. I'm getting closer to jumping in here. Let's see what we get. Still hurt my ego. I feel you, David. Nobody wants to take a loss. But if we got to take a loss, let's make it a small one. All right, another push up. No change on the MACD yet. Pushing back up right at the overnight high. Starting maybe to give us some signals. Let's see if it rolls over. This one was a little bit of a fake out right here. Let's see if we can get back down to the VWAP. I think that's very possible. Good day so far. Surprised by that much decay happening overnight. Yeah, crazy, right, Val? Yeah. Volatility crush is what that was, where the VIX dropped down after a huge punch up yesterday. So that premiums were still higher at the close yesterday. And then the VIX, dropped down a bit today. And that is part of that premium decay, not just theta. Theta is part of it, time decay, but also volatility crush. also changes the value of premiums. All right. Still waiting on this MACD. Like I said, I'm looking at 677 puts. No real drop yet. It's just kind of holding. And it may be, like I said, this was a bit of a fake out here. So maybe this is a little fake out and we get another leg higher. That is possible. We're feeling some bullish sentiment right now up here at these overnight highs. All right, here comes a little bit of red MACD. No real move yet. I'm watching also this overnight high on the ES. It's in a little bit of a different spot. So I'm watching this here. Got a little bit of a red MACD. Got a little bit of a pop on the VIX. Let's see if we can break this overnight high on the ES. All right, David saying careful on the candle. I'm watching, David. I'm watching the break of the overnight high on the ES. No real drop just yet, even though the MACD is turning. We're holding the overnight high right now on the ES, at least for now. Oh, there's another little attempt to break it. Right there. This is what I'm watching right here, this yellow line. No drop yet. Just holding right here, just holding. I feel like it wants to give us a little whoosh down, but it's not doing it yet. I'm going to let this candle close. We got a pierce of the overnight high here. I'm going to watch this candle close first. Still holding, still trying to hold it. So I'm not quite convinced. We need to lose that overnight high right there. Nope. No go just yet. David, looks like we're strong going up. Could be, David. We could get a whole nother new leg up. That's why I'm watching here. $677 calls have a good bit of volume as well. Something to be aware of. So we could come up here and peg another high. So this is an example of when usually MACD is really good, and I love the MACD. It's probably my favorite indicator. I use it on almost every trade, but I also use it together with meaningful levels. And as you all know, I mark out levels on my chart every day. I mark out overnight high, overnight low, and then yesterday high, yesterday low. I also mark out the first 15 minutes opening range, the high and the low of the first 15 minutes of the day. These levels, see, look at that. Look at that push. These levels, when I see a MACD change, but we are right on a level, I'm really careful. And that's exactly, look at that. Did you see how trappy they were, trying to make us think they were coming down when they were just going to give us this big push here? All right, let's watch this. Could we trade calls here? Got to be careful on these big candles. Sometimes they reverse. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they keep going. This one looks like it might want to keep going. I might look at calls here at the 677 level. Let's see if we can get in and out really quickly with a strong pullback here. We did come tag that 677 level. Nice trade, DT. Val, thanks, David, for the idea of going higher, 15 on the big candle. Nice, Val, very nice. Glad you guys were able to catch that. I'm always cautious on these big candles because they do like to reverse. Not always. So we came up and tagged yesterday's high of day right here. And I'm going to pivot back to puts here. I'd be looking at the 678s. All right, David Neely, Hate Thinkers Swim had a 35% call, too many buttons to click, lost the profit trying to get out fast. Oh, sorry to hear that, David. Usually, David, when I open a trade, I go directly to the sell immediately. So I only have one button to click on Thinkorswim. So as soon as I open the trade, I immediately go to the sell button and have that ready to go. But I understand. You should only be having to click the close and then the confirm button. But it's a lot when you're trying to move this quickly in seconds. And that's usually why, another reason why I'm cautious at these big candles, because they do reverse really quickly. Sometimes, again, sometimes they'll keep going in that direction, but sometimes they'll reverse. Doesn't that No, it does not, David. Not if you're at in a market, which is all I trade on SPY. It will not hold the exit price. It'll give you the current market price. Okay, looks like it's going to keep climbing. 677. So funny, because I just said we were building some volume at 677, and there it just made that really big push up. Strong push. Painful lesson learned. Yeah, sorry, David. Now, if you're trying to set a limit order, yes, it will hold that price. But still, if the price is better, it'll fill you. Even if you were holding a limit order. If you get a better price, it'll fill you at the better price. I don't recommend limit orders on these types of trades on the SPY. And let's talk quickly about the difference between a limit and a market. A limit order says you're either buying or selling, and it says if I'm buying, I don't want to pay more than this price. That's what the limit order says. If I'm selling, I don't want to sell it for less than this price. That's what the limit order says. The market order says, I don't care what the price is. I want my fill right now. And market order is something you have to be very cautious with. I don't recommend it for the majority of trading strategies. I don't recommend market orders. However, on this trading strategy and the strategy that I use, and again, this is informational, so I wouldn't tell you ever how to place your orders. But for me, for my strategy, because I'm only trading the SPY, usually sometimes the SPX, and I'm scalping in and out very quickly, I am always using market orders. So I feel like that is safe on the SPY. I'm okay with that, but I would not do it if I were buying stock, if I were placing spread orders, if I were buying other products that are thinly traded. I certainly would not use a market order. So there's that. Hopefully that helps, David. All right, a little bit of a drop here at 677. Let's see if this price action settles down a bit here after that big green candle. See if we move it back down at all, or are we just going to make another leg up? Again, we do have still some volume building at 678 on the call side, but we've also got volume building to the put side. 673, 672 on the put side. Highest volume on the put side is sitting at 674. All right, another little green candle here. I'm going to zoom out and look at this chart. Right here at, like I said, yesterday's high of day, which is also 6,800. Now, we hit exactly on that push right there. We hit 6,803, and then we got a little bit of a rejection off of that. So we're just under 6,800 right now. 6,800 could act as resistance today on the SPX, or they could try to push up through it. So let's see what we get here. That was a good, strong push there on high volume. Hatman, they're liquidity hunting, and I was the prey on the green candle. I feel your pain, Hatman. I am sorry. I'll tell you, I have been suckered into these candles. They make you jump, don't they? They make you want to FOMO right in. And sometimes, like I said, this could continue going. So it could have been a true thing. But I have learned to really keep my distance from these big tall candles, whether they're up or down. I'll usually keep my distance from those because they can be exactly what you said, a liquidity hunt. It could be. We don't know. But I'll usually keep my distance from those and just kind of wait until price settles back in again, right? All right, Diane, do they have the option to flatten it like Toss does for a regular trade? Not sure exactly what you mean on that one, Diane. Um, I think you're talking to David about placing orders, limits, or markets. When you say flatten, usually flatten just means getting out of a position, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, you might be using it in a different way. All right. Craig, great education, giving you a thumbs up. Thanks, Craig. And if you guys wouldn't mind, I do appreciate those thumbs up. This is a free channel and I'm trying to grow my views. And so if you guys would drop a thumbs up there, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for the reminder, Craig. All right, Eric is here. David saying, I practiced getting in and out of trades using on demand and Thinkorswim until I got the muscle memory down to make faster trades. Eric, excellent point there. And I appreciate you sharing that because I know David is on Thinkorswim and I know you are as well. And that on-demand practice is something David and I have talked about. I think it's a great point that you make there is when you're getting in and out of orders quickly, when you're scalping, it is good to be able to have that muscle memory and be able to do that in a fast way. So great reminder there, Eric. I appreciate it. Diane, Thinkorswim. Sorry, have to learn everything with options. With a ticker, you can get out immediately by, oh, I see, by clicking on flatten. Yeah. Exactly right, Diane. You are correct. And yes, flatten means to get out of a position and go to flat, right? No position. But it is different in options, right? You can try to use active trader with options. I've tried it. I did not find that it saved me any time whatsoever. So I've just gotten good at clicking through the buttons, and I'm pretty fast at that, kind of like Eric says. Yeah, it's a good point, Diane. There is an active trader button for stocks. It's just, for me, it's just not as quick on the options. All right. David, where is the volume now on the SPX? Let's see. Let's take a look at the SPX. I usually look at SPY volume, but let's take a look. And you can't really see volume on SPX other than options, but we can certainly do that. David's going to take a 68.20. A 68.20 what, David? I'm going to guess it's a put, or maybe it's a spread. Volume on the SPX. We've got the highest volume sitting at, on the call side for the SPX, highest volume currently sitting at 6,800, which we would expect. That's where we're sitting right now. 6,800 calls on SPX is the highest volume, followed by 6,810 calls. On the put side, it's not that close. We've got 6,770 puts, but not that close. So volume looking a little different on the SPX, isn't it? All right. 37. Oh, David, do you want to do calls here? Okay. All right. Diane saying thanks. You're very welcome, Diane. Great point you're making there. All right, Craig, I use a pinned trade window, one for each of buy, sell, put, call. Just have to set the price and quantity. That way I only have to press send. All right, Craig. Okay. Interesting. You'll have to show me what you're talking about there, Craig. Um, and David, in case we spike, I'm getting in sheep. All right, David. All right. And we could, right? We are over yesterday's high of day. Could we spike it up from here? Yeah, we could. But remember, 6,800 is resistance. So let's see if we can push up through that. All right, Eric, for Mac users, hover your cursor on the trade and simultaneously hold Command key. So Command click. That brings up the closed trade window, which I found is a faster way to close the trade. Thanks for that, Eric. I appreciate that. I don't use a Mac, but I imagine there are a lot of people here who do. So that is a great point and a nice tip. Thanks a lot for that. All right. Just after that nice push up here to 678, actually is where we pushed. We are sideways. And David, you could be right. We could see another leg up here. This basically is what we've seen since about 10:30 Eastern. Push up, little pullback, push up, little pullback, push up, kind of sideways. So let's see if we get another leg up. There's definitely some bullish pressure here today for sure. We did have a down moment after the open, and we traded that really well. We did really well with that trade, several trades, where we saw this downward movement here from about 9:45 Eastern down to about 10:35. So about an hour of downward movement with this little push here. But since 10:30, we've really been pushing it up. Okay, looks to me like another leg up. That's what it looks like right here. Getting the MACD to roll green. Could we consider some calls here? I think so. Let's look at the 678s here. They're pretty cheap. Trades, premiums are pretty cheap today. All right, 678 is our current top. However, we are outside. What is going on? Where's my VWAP? Yeah, we're outside the VWAP right now, the upper edge. All right, Craig's saying order entry window is open. There's a detach button. Oh, right. Detached window. Yeah, great, great thought there, Craig, and I appreciate that. And it does save you at least a couple of keystrokes. So not a bad thought there at all, Craig. Thank you for sharing that. All right, David, in at 5.5, out at 7.5. Nice job, David. Val got 10 on calls. You guys are killing it. I'm over here being cautious. All right, I feel like we ought to make some kind of a pullback here. Let's see if we can get that. And I think I'm going to wait on these calls. I'm going to move over to puts here, and I'm just going to wait for this to give us a pullback. I don't think I'm going to trade calls here. And if I trade puts at this moment, I'd be trading them at the 679 level. and moving to 678 possibly, as it's moving down just a hair. Let's see. Let's see here. Not much strength on the MACD. You can see the little bars are teeny. When that happens, you also have to be cautious, because when these little bars are like this, it's telling you there's not a lot of momentum here, so be careful. All right, Eric asking if that's on a PC, asking Craig. David saying, I'm trying to get into the vertical call spread for 67.85 at 420, but not getting it. Okay, not getting a fill to sell. All right, selling the 67.85s, David? Really? Are you sure? You're selling a call spread at 67.85? 67.90? That's very bold. You're good at spreads, but that's bold. Okay. Good luck. Good luck. Just curious, David, why you're thinking about call spreads, with this run up. Val asking if it's from Caleb. We're sitting right now at the high of day on the ES, yesterday's high of day. We've already bypassed it on the SPY. Not from Caleb. What is your thinking on those, David? Just curious. Okay, we're up 23 points from yesterday's close. So it's a good little push. You can see it right here from 10:30, really pushing up. Think I'm going to be wrong, but I'm thinking it's not a bad risk to reward. Okay, I got you. Well, those in the money trades, those in the money spreads are usually a much better risk to reward ratio, but they are, you got to be right on those, right? In case of a reversal on the day. All right, I'm with you. I got you. All right. Well, again, I'm not trading this call, so now we just got to wait for this to get tired here. Wait for this move to get tired. And it is a tired move, because you can see by the MACD, the bars are short. So this is a tired move. So I'm going to give it time to reverse. Still a slow, methodical climb here, that's for sure. VIX is dropping down, sitting at 20.0. So let's see if they knock that VIX down under 20. They could. It looks like they might. Oil coming down a bit. So oil was up as high as 8%. I'm looking at sweet crude futures / CL. It was up over 8% at one point. It's still up, but it's at 0.4%, almost, excuse me, not point, at almost 5% elevated. So it's come down from where it was, but still fairly elevated. Look at this. This is still climbing here. Still climbing up, guys. We are now up over the high of day on the futures and on the SPY. So definitely a bullish move here. 28 points over yesterday's close. Momentum picking up a bit here. We can see it picking up just a little bit here. Let's see if VIX holds this 20 level and gives us a bounce, or if we just continue on down. We've got most of Mag 7, meaning the Magnificent 7, the big mega tech stocks. We've got most of them green today. Apple's sitting at its flat line, and Microsoft is down a full percent. But pretty much everybody else is green today. I mean, as we would expect with this climb, right? Meta is up 3.6. That's pretty good. The mags as a whole, as an index, as a ETF, are up 1.2%. That's really good. Nvidia up 0.7, Tesla up 0.6. Who on earth is bringing the mags up to that level? That's crazy. I don't think it's Meta all by itself. That's crazy. Google at its flat line, Apple red, just under its flat line, Microsoft 1% down. Okay. So again, everybody kind of green right now. This is definitely bullish sentiment. So let's see what, how much longer we get before we can get a turnaround here. Are we just going to do some mechanical buying and just keep climbing here? Let's take a look at the daily chart. That a lot of times will give us kind of a view on what's happening right now. Yeah, look at that. That's a good and green candle there, beating yesterday's high. So we started the day. In fact, we started the stream with this candle being red, if you guys remember. And that's why I'm always keeping my eye on the daily candle, because it changes, right? The whole personality of that candle changes during the day. So right now, what this candle is telling us is bullish. We are recapturing the 100-day moving average on the SPX. That's bullish. It's sitting right here at this 6806 level. We are up over that. 6800 has been a resistance, but right now we are pushed up through that, sitting at 6811. So this is definitely a bullish look. Could they pull it back down? Sure. But right now, this is super bullish, trying to reclaim the 100, trying to get back into this whole range that we were in for months, right? This range right in here. This is super bullish action. Very, very strong. And look at this chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green days with a massive gap. I mean, we have gone from the bottom here at 6,300 all the way up to 68, 500 points. I mean, what is that? 8%, I want to say, 7-8% of the high. We have done that in 7 trading days. That's pretty impressive, guys. Very, very strong buying power here. So you got to bear that in mind. Bear that big macro picture in mind. This is a bullish chart. All right. We are getting close to the end of our stream. So let's talk about what the trades should look like today. We didn't take any trades this morning on this stream. We are in the middle of a climb. I'm not going to buy here in the middle, or even possibly could be the top. I'm not going to do that. So I'm at this point for the next trade waiting for a turnaround. for it to come down. It doesn't have to. We can get one of these grind and go days where we just get little teeny blips and then it just keeps going. This certainly does feel like a buying day to me. It is pushing. Um, so if we do get any kind of signals for puts, I'm going to be really careful because we're pretty high over the VWAP. We're pretty bullish, and I'm not going to just take puts, you know, in an irresponsible way with this kind of a push. We have to always keep in mind the big macro picture. So my trading plan for the day is, yes, I'm open to puts, but I want to see some real good reason to take them. And if we get a little small pullback and then a turn upward, new signals, I would take calls. So that's kind of where I'm at. We're sitting at 68.20 right now in the SPX, 37 points over the flat line. Really big push here. Absolutely strong buying. All right, so that is where we're at today, guys. It was super fun. Thanks so much for all of your interaction. You guys have been great, just jumping in there and commenting, and I really love that. So thanks for that. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Remember, tomorrow we're going to get CPI, or CPI. That's our consumer price index. That's going to help the feds to decide what inflation is doing. We did get PCE today. It was just basically the same, down by 0.1%. So those can move the market. So be aware of that. If you take anything overnight, be aware that CPI can definitely move the market. Okay. All right. Wish I kept my trade, David said. 68.20 would have made much more sense. I hear you, David. Well, you just never know where the market's going, do you? It's such a crapshoot. We never know really where it's going. We can use our tools, but at the end of the day, we got to let the charts tell us what they're doing. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back again tomorrow. Yeah, VIX below 20. I do see it, guy. Crazy. We'll be, look at that. Look at this push, guys. Wow. 680. Holy cow. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. All right. We will see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining. We'll see you then. Bye for now.